Hey everybody, it's Yasmin, back in my meditation room, back home. How are you all? Hope you're really well. So I promised a dark moon ceremony today, but I've been feeling so dark moon myself, I haven't even felt like coming up here and doing anything. I've just been like... So I didn't want to let everyone down. And I guess, you know, it's as good for me as it is for anybody. Before I go any further, I'm just going to say, if you're in the UK, I'm going to be on This Morning tomorrow at 11:15. Tune in. I think it's ITV. Philip and Holly. Amazing. I used to watch that show avidly. Now a bit less because I'm working harder. Back in the day when I was a freelance writer and I had a bit more time on my hands, I always watched that show. Anyway. 11:15 a.m. tomorrow, this morning. So let me just say, actually, so if you're feeling a bit like me, a bit right now, and you know, I might be thinking, well, how am I going to be on This Morning tomorrow if I'm feeling like this? The fact is, we are coming up to the new moon. And so the reason why I'm feeling a bit, and maybe you're feeling a bit, let me just see if I can see your comments here, because it's doing that thing where it doesn't show me your comments, unfortunately. Yeah, so if you're feeling a bit like that, and especially if you've got something like big on, like going on This Morning tomorrow, and you're thinking, how am I going to get through this? Well, actually, the funny thing is that by the time we get to tomorrow, we're all going to feel really different because we're going to have had the new moon, and that is the big game changer, okay? But what I wanted to do now was really, I actually think I'm just going to do a little bit of chanting and a card just to keep it really, really simple. But I want to talk a little bit about the moon phase we're in right now and why we're all feeling a bit, just to keep doing. It's the dark of the moon. It's the dark moon time, okay? Like if you go out tonight in the skies, like in Australia right now, I know because I was about to ring my mum, but I can't because it's about 4 a.m, okay? So it's pitch black. So if you happen to be in Australia, you're lucky. Go out and have a look. You'll see the skies are black as night. Here in England, it's about 6:30 p.m. or something like that. So there wouldn't be a moon probably anyway, but there definitely won't be a moon tonight because it's the dark moon when you actually can't see the moon. It's the end of 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 the lunar cycle. So just to refresh for anybody who doesn't know, there are 8 phases in the lunar cycle. Starts with the new moon. Then we get the waxing crescent moon. Then we get the first quarter, gibbous, full moon, disseminating moon, third quarter. And then we get the balsamic moon phase, which is what we're in now, astrologically speaking, which is basically a healing and soothing time. But it's also now, as we get to the very, very end of the balsamic phase, it's the dark moon. And so this is a time where darkness can come up. And actually, while I was away, I was reading a book, which I probably should have read about 25 years ago, which I don't have it here right now, but it's called The Mysteries of the Dark Moon by Demeter George, and it's amazing. And it talks about the dark goddess. So dark goddesses would include Kali, Medusa, Nyx, Lilith, and so on. So I just got a text from this morning, actually. Gosh, I should probably go and answer that. They can wait 5 minutes. Anyway, so talks about the dark goddess, okay? And the dark goddess is actually a goddess that people are somehow a little bit scared of. And I admit, I've been there. I've been through my whole dark goddess discovery phase. And she did scare me a bit. And she does still scare me a little bit, I'll be completely honest. But, you know, it's actually just kind of this big conspiracy plot by the patriarchy to make us scared. So if you think about it, just to put it in perspective with the goddesses, usually you get the triple goddess, the maiden, the mother, and the crone, okay? So the maiden is the you know, beautiful, young. Think of Kendall Jenner. She's a real maiden, you know, she hasn't had a kid yet. She's beautiful, she's young, she knows exactly how to wrap all the boys around her little finger, and she does, you know, she's like a maiden. And she just sprang to mind because she's a really super famous maiden. Then you get the mother. So actually, let's keep it on the Kardashians just to really annoy people who hate the Kardashians. Sorry, I quite like the Kardashians. I think they're amazing. I just like them. What can I say? They're nice. They're amazing women. Kim Kardashian's going to be a lawyer. Hello. Anyway, fulfilling her destiny as a Libran. Anyway, so then the mother, let's say Kim Kardashian, you know, that's the woman who's had the baby and whose priorities have shifted, you know, whereas when you're a maid and it's all about gallivanting, hopefully around the world if you've got the means to do that, or just, you know, being beautiful and frolicking here and there, and then suddenly you're a mother and you've got all these children to look after, and presumably sometimes a husband or maybe a wife, you know, your life changes. And it's no longer just about being gorgeous and going out on a Friday night and showing the world, you know, what you've got. It's about caring and nurturing for someone else and being there for them and doing your best. And, you know, my sister asked me when we had Louis, who's now 13, so when he was about a month old, and I was raving about how much I loved having my son. And my sister said to me, Yasmin, why do you like it so much? What is it? You know, she doesn't have a kid. And so she couldn't understand why I was going mental about being a mother. And she's like, why do you like it so much? And I said, gosh, that's such a good question. I have no idea. I need to think about it. So I thought about it overnight, and I rang her back the next day and I said, okay, I think I've worked out why I like it so much. She's like, why? And I'm like, because all she could see was like dirty nappies. And I was like, because for the first time in my life, I care about someone else more than I care about myself. Okay, so that's being a mother, you know, it's a big thing. And then we come to Kris Kardashian, the matriarch. We come to the crone, the wise woman. You know, she's been through a bit. Think about what Kris Kardashian's been through. Her husband had a sex change on international television. You know, and she's really saved her children from possible poverty and destitution. I think at one point they were bankrupt, and she's turned them into this multi-million-dollar global machine. And of course, a lot of people disagree with the way she's done it, and I personally wouldn't necessarily be sending my daughter off to be in Playboy if I had a daughter. But that's actually an interesting point and really relevant to tonight of the dark moon, okay? Because the dark moon is associated with the dark goddess. And the whole thing with the goddess is that back in the day, the goddess, for example, reveled in her sexuality, okay? Reveled, had sex with people to heal them, you know? Like, people went to have sex with the virgins for healing, and that was their power. Their power was to do with sex and death, essentially, you know, taking people over to the other side. But it was about sex, and it was about being happy in your sexuality, you know, and being happy in your body and enjoying the bounty of pleasures that come with being a woman. Okay? But what happened? The patriarchy came along, and I think it's about between 4,000 and 2,500 years BC, they started to stamp out the goddess and the matriarchy, and to replace it with the patriarchy, which is the men being in charge. And one of the powers of the woman was her sexuality, you know. And what did they do? They made sex a bad thing, like, thou shalt not have sex. Oh, she's a whore. She has sex and she enjoys it. Okay, are you getting the picture? And so now we have people like Kim Kardashian, you know, who flaunts her sexuality and makes people go, oh, did you see? She was naked, as naked as the day she was born, as if that's a bad thing, you know? It's all food for thought, and it's really dark moon stuff. I actually can't see the comments. Sometimes my phone just doesn't show the comments. And what's so funny is I know some of you will be really outraged and going, oh my God, how can you say this? But I can't see the comments, so that's actually quite good. I can't be put off by that. Anyway, so long and the short of it, The dark moon is a time for introspection, it's for letting go, and it's for facing up to the parts of us that we're not very proud of. Okay, so it's a really good time to just let it all go and release it. So we'll just do a little breathing exercise. And remember, one of the things we're doing is we're letting go ahead of tomorrow's new moon. Okay, we're letting go ahead of tomorrow's new moon when we will be doing new moon work. Okay, and hopefully you'll get to see this before you do your new moon wishes. Doesn't matter if it's been the new moon, you just need to do this process, and it's the perfect time to do it is before you do your new moon work, because you need to let things out in order to let things in. Of course, as they always say, nature abhors a vacuum. Okay, so we let it out so tomorrow we can let it back in. So I'm going to do a breathing exercise, and then I'm going to do a card just to help guide us about what is the, what do we need to know about our release work today. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes and just breathe. Just breathe. Okay, and now I want you to think of a situation that you need to release. Just breathe it out. Breathe in love and breathe it out. Breathe out the situation. I'm going to take 3 cleansing breaths. Here we go. Breathe in. Hold and out. Imagine smoke, black smoke of stress coming out of your mouth. Do it again. Breathe in clean, fresh prana and breathe out black smoke of stress. And one more time. Breathe in. And we call on the goddess of the dark moon, who for me is Kali, to help us release what we no longer need and what we need to let go. I'm going to do a 3-line chant to Kali. Kali, help us to let go of that which no longer serves us. Om Kaliye Namaha. Om Kaliye Namaha. Om Kaliye Namaha. And a couple of things to tell you. The goddess is the personification of the moon. Let me say that again. The goddess is the personification of the moon. And the moon waxes and wanes and goes through one cycle after another after another. And that's one of the reasons why the goddess, the dark goddess, is associated with sex and death, because this is like the death of the lunar cycle before we go into the rebirth after the new moon, as soon as the crescent appears. So interesting if you start reading about the way all this works. Okay, so we're going to do a card. This is a card for what we need to know about this dark moon right now. I'm going to choose that one. What have we got? Ooh. Interesting. Gosh, I don't even know what that means after talking about the patriarchy. Father, husband, brother, son. Let's look it up. What does the patriarchy want with us? I mean, maybe it's a message to say, you know, we mustn't be anti-men, and I am most certainly not. I live with the most wonderful man and the most wonderful young man. So maybe it's a message to say, you know, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oh dear, what's it saying? Here we go. Oh, interesting. Who here has ever had a broken heart? Now is the perfect time for you to heal and release any old wounds connected to men in your life. Yep. This clearing process opens the way for healthy relationships with men. All right. Balance your male and female energy by both giving and receiving. I feel like that's quite profound. Let me know in the comments, which I will have to read after I've stopped this, if you're willing to release and forgive a man from your past that hurt you. And let's send some love to the men out there who are doing their best, because they do get a lot of flack from us these days, don't they? And a lot of them doing their best. I know my son is, and I know my husband is, so lots of love to all the men who are helping their goddesses to thrive. So on that note, I will be back tomorrow with the new moon ceremony. It will either be on here or Hay House. I will put it on the events page. And just a reminder, if you're Libra rising, go to moonmessages.com/written, because the day after is all about you. I'll put a link in the description as well. All right, lots of love. I hope that helped. I think it helped me a bit. I'm not feeling quite so... I feel like I ranted and then I got this card saying, yes, you can rant, but, you know, not all men are bad, and they're really not. We know that. My dad was amazing. So, yeah, maybe it's a question of balance. All right. Lots of love.